The hardest part of it is you're going to have to make sacrifices as a parent, work-wise, engagement-wise, parenting-wise. If you don't want your kids to have guns, you're going to have to parent harder than you ever had to parent in your whole entire life.
Look, the biggest podcast where you can learn them lessons. Line for line where you can learn from different sections. Made it out the mud, come tell your story, blessings. Never know who listening, never know who stressing. Divine gave you a voice, can speak your honest truth. Line for line, go bar for bar, it's up to you. Wanna talk sports, gov, and politics? Wanna talk about where you from and your accomplishments? Then Line for Line is really where you need to be. A platform that's really made for folks like you and me. You can find it all no matter what you seek. Whether you calling or you listening, tune in every week.
Welcome back to another very special episode of Line for Line podcast. I'm your host with the most, Devon Booker. We have a very gracious gentleman in the building today. I would like to call this man one of my OGs, one of the founding fathers of helping gentlemen find success outside of the normal things that they do. We have a legendary author. We have owner. We have substance abuse clinic owner, Tony Moore, in the building. Tony, how you feeling today?
Blessed. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, sir. How you feeling on this Saturday, young man? Tell us a little bit something.
I'm doing all right. Got a lot I need to do today. I'm excited to be back on the show, to be able to see how you have grown since our last visit.
Yes, sir.
I keep my eye on you, and I've been watching you grow, and I'm happy for what you're doing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Tony Moore, you know Line for Line. First thing we like to do when we start our show is have the guests tell the world just a little bit about them, what it is that they do, their profession, things of that nature. You now have the floor, sir.
Okay. I'm a multitasker.
Come a little bit closer to the mic.
I tend to do what makes me feel good, and that's helping people. So in helping people, and gave me opportunity to become a basketball coach and owner of a professional team. I also coach along with one of my other young men that I'm trying to help get to the next level, Brandon Moore's coach at a high school, Tremper High School. We want to bring a championship to Kenosha. It hasn't been here since I've been born. And also I'm an author, which give me an opportunity to reach across many different genres of people and share my journey from drugs, alcohol, crime, all the things that I've been through as an individual that I have experienced. I took the time out after I got my mind right, start writing about it and sharing about it, putting workbooks together and formulas together that helps individuals break those cycles and be able to come and share with society how to be a positive member and continue to grow. So, my legacy is big to me. I want to leave something, and I want to leave the world better than I found it. So that's where I'm at right now with what I'm doing in life.
Of course. Now, a lot of people who know your story, they know that you're not shy about sharing your story and things that you've been through. But can you just help the newer listeners, the newer engagers, just share a little bit about your earlier path that led you through the difficult times and the seasons that you went through as a young man? Well,
young in life, I always wanted to fit in and try to be a part of what I should say, the dark side of our community. I always I liked the excitement of it. So I got caught up early on with shoplifting at 9, 10 years old. And I had a good mother and father who always provided, but we had a big family. So you always had hand-me-downs and all of those kind of things that, tend to be wore out, and you wanted the new clothes. You liked the girls, and you want girls to see you, and you wanted your peers to see you looking nice. So I would just shoplift as much as I could, from pencils and everything for school to look the best I could. And with that comes a lot of consequences of getting caught and all of those kind of things. So I start facing jail and authority figures early in my life. By 12 years old, I had been incarcerated maybe 5 times.
Wow, at 12 years old?
Yeah, by 12, yeah. got caught and took down to the juvenile receiving center, and you go through that process, and your family got to come get you. At first, it starts off with you may have to write an essay, or you may have to come to some classes or go see a psych or whatever. So I did that for until I was 12, and again, I had a big family, so a lot of what I did was trying to find my own happiness within my family, and and it always went to the shoplifting and stealing and drugs, and that. By the time I was 15, I would start using drugs. In those days, it was speeders and Cadillacs, what they call speeders and all that, and just start doing drugs and just living that lifestyle. Mm-hmm. So by the time I'm 15, I'm getting ready to go to boys' school for armed robbery and murder, and after I get sentenced to the boys' school for 3.5 years, I got a chance to develop this gift that I really loved the most was basketball. Mm-hmm. And in jail, I excel in sports. Graduated early because I wasn't a dumb kid. I just was one of those kids that need adventure. I needed to have excitement, and nobody could feel that for me. So I ended up graduating in 2.5 years and going to college from boys' school and all of those kind of things, and still pursuing basketball, but never left the crime life. Mm-hmm. And for the next, I want to say 17 years, that's all I did. Back and forth, in and out of jail.
Of course.
64 times. Back and forth out of jail, and end up my last time at 35. I'm in a men's prison facing 40 years, and my daughter walks into prison. She says, "Daddy, how come you can't take care of me?" And for whatever reason, that little girl saying that to me sparked something in me that I didn't know that was there. I said I was done when that little girl asked me that. My baby was 12 years old at that time. And when she asked me that, it just hit something deep side and core in me that made me say, it's time to change. Enough is enough.
Of course.
And from that day to this day, that's all I've been working on, is changing me to be the best version of myself.
Now, with you being so open and honest about your past, Tony Moore, why would you say it's important for you to talk about your past and be open when it comes to introducing yourself to people working inside the community and things of that nature?
I think transparency and authenticness is the key to developing yourself to a whole nother level. If you're ashamed of who you are at any point in your life, you'll be ashamed of being able to be the best version of yourself, because you always leave yourself with secrets. Mm-hmm. There is no secret about me. This is who I am. This is where I'm going. Whether you like it or not, this is how I'm going to make it happen. And I'm going to use the energy that I have as a former criminal, former drug user, those experiences are the experiences that gave me the knowledge to do what I'm doing today. I know what to do and I know what not to do because of those experiences.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How is it that you reach out to the kids who may be heading down the path that you may have once traveled back in the day?
What I would say is don't go. See, the smartest people recognize from what other people went through and can make changes. People who are foolish and need their own experiences, their own choices and own decisions without evaluating the results or the consequences, and still go down the road where the pit bull is down there fighting, that's just foolishness. Mm-hmm. Knowledge is key to everything to being the best version of yourself, because knowledge is what's going to make you change once you get the information.
Mm-hmm. Of course, of course. If you had to say, Tony Moore, how do you think the communities could better uplift people who are coming home from incarceration?
That's a two-sided question, because people who come home can't expect people to help them. What they have to expect is I want to help the community. Because when you come home, there are opportunities that's always just in place for the normal individuals that never go to jail. Jobs, schooling, don't commit crimes, first of all. That's one way to help yourself stay out of jail, is just don't commit the crimes. And so when you come home, you have to have a plan. We call it the 4 Ps. Prayer, meditation, your planning, blueprint building, performance, skill development, patience, and result building. So we put the way I teach it now in jail now and at the clinic is the 4 Ps. And if you get that meditation piece where you got to meditate on what it takes to be the best version of yourself, then you got to say, okay, what's the plan? And then you're going to, after you get the plan together, what is the execution of the performance that is going to take? Going back to school, developing this or developing that to help you be able to do what the plan requires. And then after you plant the seed and sow it and you nurture it and maturate it to the society that you're living in, let it grow. Don't keep trying to change it. Let it grow. And I've been having great success with the people I work with, from sports to counseling, drug and alcohol. We've been having great success with it.
Of course. Now, what piece of advice would you give to the person that's out there who may be struggling with addiction, alcohol, or even legal troubles?
Do everything you can to get stopped, whatever that is. That could be church, that could be NAAA, could be just, I'm tired. You got to get stopped, and you got to be able to see how it affects you to be stopped. Like there's people with addiction have a hard time stopping because they get uncomfortable when they don't have it. So how do you deal with your uncomfortable side when you don't have it? Like some people needed to talk better around folks. Some people needed to engage with people. Some people needed just to feel alive. And without it, what does that do to you? Now that you're into it 13 months, 13 years, 23 years. What does it do when you stop? That's when you'll find out how deep your addiction is.
Of course. Now, as you know, Line for Line podcast, and you know me, I pride myself on giving the fans, the people who support me, the authentic me. Now, if someone who struggles with a past of not being perfect, I've made my fair share of mistakes or anything like that, what would be that best piece of advice that you would give to someone who, or in my shoes, who kind of struggles to deal with what other people may say, what they may think, and you may sometimes be scared to do an opportunity because of what other people may think or what they may say?
Well, the first thing you got to remember about life itself, experiences are a part of a testimony. The more you've been through, the more you can tell folks about what it looks like to get through it. There's nothing in life that's done great. Any great person you would ask, what did he go through or what she went through to become who they are? They're going to tell you they went through hell and high water because it requires a price that you have to pay to get to this level. The other people stiff arm. They stiff arm greatness. Greatness is not something that everybody wants to endure because of the Michael Jackson syndrome, the Michael Jordan syndrome, the Denzel Washington syndrome, the high standard of stars that going to require you to be able to deal with what a society say who we think he is. And you have to deal with that as a part of it. Your own folks will say he think he's better than us. Well, guess what? No, I don't think I'm better than you. I'm just doing what I best do. And you got to get to terms with that and say, you know what, I've been called to demonstrate the hope to other people that it's possible to be who you need to be so that you could help people see there's more to life than what maybe this poverty that we lived in, this ghetto we come from, this failure, this I failed high school, I failed grade school. You still can make it if you don't give up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, when it comes to the city of Kenosha, Tony Moore, can you just tell us a little about what Kenosha is to you, for you, and what it means to you?
Well, Kenosha has been my not my birthplace. I came in when I was 5 years old, but it's been the place I grew up in. And it always has, I watched it grow from a little small town to where it is now, and it rebounded after American Motors left and all of those kind of things, how they're rebounding, and they always have been pro-economic, always trying to develop and always trying to build jobs and so forth and so on. The schooling, I think, can do a lot better in educating and preparing our children for life, real life, and what life really means. A lot of times I think education gets so caught up with the traditional model that they forget that the futurist model that exists, that with laborers and individuals that need to be in trades and all of those kind of things. Like, we don't have many trades anymore like we once did. We need trades. We need people who are gifted at doing those kind of things, that concrete, roofing, just masonry type things, and other trade stuff that should be given in school. But what Kenosha has meant to me is possibility and potential. There's a lot of possibility and potential in Kenosha that has not even been tapped into, because we are one of those progressive little cities that looks big, comparing to the place that we have. We're situated between Chicago and Milwaukee, Racine and Waukegan. So we're situated right in the middle, where we get a lot of knowledge from all of those places that cross us. And the people that make up Kenosha is a diverse population of good people with good minds. They're trying to develop something in this little city with the land that we do have industrially. And I think the possibilities for Kenosha is great. We just need more leadership. Our leadership is getting old, and we need younger leadership to come in and be progressive with it and take us to a whole new generation of education and knowledge and economic boom,
of course,
that's possible here.
Yes, sir. Now, as we get ready to close out this phenomenal episode, Tony Moore, now we know that the city of Kenosha is in a crisis when it comes to youth. You know, every time you look up, there's another gun violence situation. There's another situation about hearing these kids carrying around guns or whatever the case may be. What piece of advice would you give to those listening ears, whether it's the schools, the students, the parents, who are the most important factor, just in my eyes and my thoughts? What piece of advice would you give to them to kind of help things simmer down and return back to normal and understand that there's life outside of the street politics and the foolishness of having to carry around the guns?
Well, first I have to say this. I shared with you opening the story that I was 15 years old and I went to jail for what?
For murder, robbery, things of that nature.
I'm 67 years old right now. Has never stopped. 15 when it happened. 67 is still happening. So the other side to that is parenting. The hardest part of it is you're going to have to make sacrifices as a parent, work-wise, engagement-wise, parenting-wise. If you don't want your kids to have guns, you're going to have to parent harder than you ever had to parent in your whole entire life to watch this generation of kids. And my crime happened in 1974. I had good parents that couldn't watch every single thing I did, and I had guns. I took guns to school in 74. This is 2026, and it's still happening. So the parenting piece is so big, and then you have the development of protection and detection of how to protect your school with all the Columbines and all the other things that have happened. How do you protect these schools with people that slip through the cracks? You know, and you got to be able to do that it's going to be hard. It's always going to be hard. So the best thing I can say is parenting and policing better.
Yep. And I know you say it's going to be hard, not to cut you off. But when it comes to people saying it's going to be hard, you got to pick your heart. It's hard to take time off of work and make sure you're giving your kids an extra hour. It's hard to sit there and watch your kid in the casket. And I've never had the fate of watching my kid, but I'm saying that I can know that's hard just by losing loved ones. But you got to pick your heart. It's going to be hard to do that. It's going to be hard to see your kid in jail. Pick your heart. Which heart is it that you want? Do you want your kid to be success? Do you want to set them up for success, or do you want to just be okay and not knowing where they are and what they're doing at all hours of the night?
Yeah, that's a lot. There's a lot else that goes in, and there's variables to it, because you got music, you got society norms, and all of those kind of things that, as a parent, you're going to have to be able to talk about it and decipher it with your children. Like, for instance, your children don't have a privacy in your house. You got to go through their room, and you got to go through their closets. You got to go through the things that they own and all of those kind of things.
But Dad, make sure this is my room. Get out of my room.
Yeah. Dad, it's my house. Get out of my house.
Oh, Dad, these are my things. What are you doing in my things?
I help you buy these things.
All right. I'm just gonna put a lock on my door. How about that, Dad?
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. I'll take it off the hinges. Ladies. But that's parenting, though. See, that's parenting, that you love your kids enough to not let them think that I don't care enough to check you.
Yeah.
Most parents nowadays don't even check their kids. They'll let them listen to anything they want to, music-wise and everything, without checking it.
Not I. Man, my little girl, she's 9. As you know, I'm all through her tablet, all through her phone, and all. Everything. You got to be. You know what I'm saying? Because I try to tell my daughter, too, she likes playing these games and all that. You don't know who's on the end of the tablet. They can be posing as a kid, ask you questions. You never know. Yes. So you got to check everything. Dad, well, why are you reading my messages? Because until you're 18 and until you're an adult, a fully functioning adult, because people think just because you're 18, you're an adult. Yeah. As long as you're under my supervision, you're still a child to me, and I still got to be there to be prepared and be those eyes and ears who are more experienced and mature than me as well, too.
Let me just say this. This is key. What I've seen over the years that I've lived, 67. Parents can't talk one way and live another way. You can't ask your kids to do something that you're not doing, and you have to be an example to your kids that it's possible.
For sure.
That's where we lose sight a lot of time. We ask kids to do things that we're not even willing to do, or just like a man asks his wife to do things that he's not willing to do. Well, you got to be an example of what you should do by making the sacrifices that a man needs to make, even if it's uncomfortable, to be the man that he wants in his family. If you want your son to be different, you're going to have to show him how to be different. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to be an example for him. You want your daughter to see what kind of man she should marry, you're going to have to be that kind of man. Tough stuff.
Of course. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it here first on Line for Line podcast. I'm your host with the most, Devon Booker. That was Mr. Tony Moore. Tony, thank you for having some time for us, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You calling or you listening, tune in every week. Line for line. Oh yeah, I'm going line for line.